I may disagree with what you have to say, but I shall defend to the death your right to say it. Now, sadly, as you'll see later in my presentation, there are forces in Canada who are trying to silence opposition. They're actually using official government bodies to try to do that, really impinging on our rights guaranteed by the Charter of Rights and Freedoms to have freedom of speech. Now, I'm not saying that people should be able to go to a theater and yell fire in a theater, but science, the marketplace of ideas, should be open for free and honest exchange. So, taking Voltaire's approach, this is what I'm going to cover tonight.
We might ask whose death is going to be in Parliament.
Yeah, well, we actually have some of our scientists get death threats, if you can believe that. One of them told me just the other day he was never going to bring up this climate change thing in public again. He's just going to do his own little research, and we will not hear what he finds, which is really sad. That's really sad. So we're going to talk about the knowledge question in science, and that might sound like a pretty esoteric topic, but you'll see as I go on how important it is. We're going to talk about negative discovery. I'm going to define what it is and how it relates to climate change, climate science. And then we're going to talk about consensus. We're always hearing about the consensus of world scientists agree. Well, we'll take a look and see what do they really agree with. We'll then that's, by the way, where I'll take a break. We'll then get into the more hard science or I should say physical science topics. Okay, and I decided to start with hurricanes because hurricanes have been in the news a lot. And I think it's really important to compare what's being said in the media with what the real experts are actually saying. One of whom said, don't use my name in the presentation because I've had death threats. It's serious, I'm not kidding. But regardless, I can give you some sources, but not all of them. We're then going to talk about Earth's temperature, which is kind of a strange concept. How does a planet have a temperature? You'd think it would have millions of temperatures. We'll talk about that. Then we're going to talk about, very briefly, carbon dioxide, Arctic sea level. Okay, this sounds like a whole course in just over an hour, so we'll go pretty quickly through those last ones. We'll talk very briefly about the repercussion of climate change programs, okay, because there's a lot of repercussions. And I'll end off with a suggestion as to what should we do. Now, we've been hearing about truth a lot in the media these days. Obviously, Al Gore's film, An Inconvenient Truth. He knows the truth. And the same thing this year. He talked about an inconvenient sequel, Truth to Power. But Mr. Gore does not know the truth about climate change, and neither do his opponents. Indeed, no one does. Because, as I said, science is just the opinions of experts, and we're going to get into that because that's a very important point, and hopefully opens people's minds to the idea that they could be wrong. If you learn more, you may find you change your mind. So we should start out. Voltaire also said something, and occasionally I'll walk around a little bit. If I walk over here, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. So once in a while I'll walk around. It's a nervous habit. Voltaire also said, if you wish to debate with me, define your terms. So I better define what I mean by truth. Okay. I'm going to use the definition put forward by Plato. Plato said truth and knowledge, which he believed was truth. He believed we could find out knowledge that was truth with a capital T. He said it was universal, necessary, and certain. Okay? Now that's easy to remember in the climate change case because the abbreviation for that would be UNC, would be United Nations Climate. And the United Nations tell us, and we'll see later, that they know the truth. Okay? We'll see if they really do. Now, truth applies to things like mathematics, okay, or chess, in which we write the rules, okay? 2 + 2 = 4. That's true. The queen moves in a certain way on the chess table. That's true, okay? But it never applies to our findings about nature, which, as I said before, are merely educated opinions based on scientists' interpretations of observations